We are live. Okay, great. Apologies. I know I'm a couple minutes after 3. We're supposed to go live right at 3, but as always, there were some technical delays. So we're live now. Hi, happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope you are doing great. I hope you're fantastic. And I hope you've had a wonderful, happy new year. So we are already in January 2025. The new semester starts next week, which is insane. So let's dive right in and talk about one of my very favorite topics. I even have some slides and a presentation for y'all today. Hopefully you can see my screen. Oh, my face is going to be right in front of it, but that's okay. So today we're going to talk about what I like to call the Chem Excellence method. So this is for people at University of Arizona. We're going to dive in and talk about how you can get an A in your chemistry class at University of Arizona. One of my very, very, very favorite topics. This is for you. First off, let's make sure you're in the right place. This is for you if you are a student or if you're the parent of a student who is taking chemistry at University of Arizona. You're in the right place. This is exactly directed for you if you want to learn how to make an A in your chemistry class without having to get completely stressed out, overwhelmed, have an entirely awful experience with your chemistry class. You don't have to. If you're prepared to make sure that you have the best possible opportunity for success, you're in the right place. And if you're looking for expert advice with proven results, here we are. Welcome to the training. So just imagine going into your chemistry class this semester, this spring, if you could walk into your chemistry exams with confidence because you know you're prepared and you know you're ready to be successful in the exams. Imagine being able to engage in the class lectures because you actually understand what's going on. You can follow along with the professor. You don't have a ton of stress. You don't have a ton of uncertainty around your studying because you know exactly where to put your focus. You, because of all of these things, are earning the exact grades that you want on your exams. You get the exact grade that you want in the class. And on top of all of that, you're very efficient and effective with your time. So that means you also have time to take care of yourself and you have time to relax and, have an actual routine for yourself. That could be.
I'm so excited. I got 100. I think it was on either Unit 2 or Unit 3, but it was really, really awesome.
So one of our previous students, 100% on her exam, A in 241B, that's second semester OChem. That I know that class has a great reputation. So you can get an A in OChem, 97 on chemistry exam, 92.5 on chemistry final exam, got an A on the final.
What'd you get on the final exam? A 98?
97.
97% on the final exam, which
That's amazing.
is amazing.
So, obviously, if you're getting a 97% on the final exam in your chemistry class, then you're doing pretty well. You're understanding the material, so 96% on the exam, 100 on multiple choice, 93 on the grade scope, which is just like the free response section. Got an A in chemistry. So that could absolutely be you. That is 100% possible. Before I dive in, I just want to make a quick agreement with you. I am going to show you the 3 steps that we use with our students that get these types of results. So the 3 steps that you can use to really be able to get there. I just want you to promise me that you'll take action whenever I show them to you. So ways that you could take action, you could share this video. If you're the parent in here, show this to your kid, show this to your wildcat and, let them know some strategies that they could be implementing. If you're the student, then go implement this. Don't just sit here and watch it, say that looks good. Actually do something about it. Implement it for yourself for this semester. And then if you're interested at the end, I'll show you how we could even chat about getting some support to implement everything that we talk about, just specifically customized to you. So if you have had any of these experiences, or if you're kind of worried that your semester is going to look like any of these experiences, maybe you study for hours and hours and hours and hours, and you feel like you prepared so well for an exam, and then you bomb it, you make a bad grade, or maybe you're doing okay on one exam and then you're failing the next. So your results are not consistent with how you're doing in your class. Maybe you're going to office hours, but you still just cannot seem to build up your test averages. Maybe during class, either you're daydreaming or you don't even go to class because you don't know what the teacher's talking about. So it just feels like a waste of time anyway, and it's just making you stressed out. You're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed. That does not have to be your experience in chemistry. Really, you're just missing a 3-step approach that I like to call the Chem Excellence method. So who am I? How do I know this? If you don't already know me, I am surprised, but no, I'm kidding. If you don't already know me, I'm Dr. Lori. I have a PhD in chemistry from the University of Arizona. I've worked with, I think that number might be a little bit old, might be a little low, but I've probably worked with over 500 students in University of Arizona chemistry classes. I also went to grad school at University of Arizona in the chemistry department. On top of that, have over 20 years of experience teaching and tutoring. So I'm not only intimately familiar with the U of A chemistry department, I'm also intimately familiar with how the students learn the things they need to learn to do well in the classes that are in the U of A chemistry department. And I'm also intimately familiar with the biggest struggles that the students tend to have. So I've taken all that experience and I have personally designed our STEM Excellence method after years of proven results with U of A chemistry students. So based on that experience that I just shared with you, there are some common mistakes that students are making. And here are some of the main themes that I've noticed with the students. First is they try to do it by themselves. This is actually less and less of a problem. I think that students are starting to realize how empowering support can be. I like to compare taking your class to climbing Mount Everest. So if you think about climbing Mount Everest, you're not going to go do it by yourself, right? You're going to have a team of other hikers. You're going to have, like a Sherpa, right? You're going to have a guide to show you the way. You're not going to just jump in and try to navigate it by yourself. Same way with your academics. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it by yourself. Use other students. Go to study groups. Work with other students who are going through the same thing that you're going through. Work with experts. There are so many people who are experts and so many different ways that you can find extra resources for support. So don't do it by yourself because you don't have to. There are no trophies for doing it the hard way. So don't make it harder on yourself. Another problem, another mistake I see students making is only relying on their teacher. Your teachers are great. I personally know every single one of your teachers, and they are fantastic. But you are one of several hundred students in this class. This is also not the only class that your teachers are teaching. So you are one of many, many, many students. There is no possible way for your professor to be personally invested in your success because they just don't have the bandwidth for that. Office hours get packed and professors can only do so much. So while your professors are an amazing resource for you, relying only on them is not quite enough to get you there. Another one is what I call high school mentality. So I can't tell you the number of times I've met with a student who has told me, I got all A's in high school. I'm a 4.0 student. I do not understand why I'm failing this class. And then we go through what they're doing and how they're studying and how they're approaching the class, and it's not enough, or it's just a completely wrong approach. So high school is not college. High school, what got you A's in college, what got you A's in high school is not going to necessarily get you an A in college. What got you A's in high school might only be the bare minimum to pass a college level science class, because college level science classes are pretty demanding. They're rigorous. So go into your chemistry class at U of A expecting to put in work, expecting to have to work for that grade, because it's not just going to come to you just because you're showing up, going to class, taking notes, and then reading over your notes before your exam. You're probably going to end up failing your exams if that's all you're doing. Whereas in high school, I understand a lot of high schools, that was enough to get an A. So make sure that you just kind of shift your mentality a little bit and understand it takes work to get there. You're not going to get there just by kind of floating by. But if you do put in the work, and if you put in the work in a way that is really effective and really purposeful, you can get there. It's completely possible to make an A in this class. You just have to make sure that you have a different approach than the way that you approached it in high school. Okay, the last one is relying on other students. Other students are great. Student tutors are sometimes a great resource, especially for people that that's the only resource that they have. Amazing that that's an option. But, the preceptors, the TAs, the tutors at the think tank, they're all students. And students don't have teaching qualifications. They just have done well themselves in the class. But just because you do well in a class doesn't mean that you're qualified or that you're able or capable to teach other people how to do well in the class. Really, a lot of times it's not uncommon for students go to SI session. Again, SI sessions are a fantastic resource, but it's not the only resource. And it's not uncommon for students to go there and then they come to us and the student tutors that they've worked with have gotten the problem wrong, or maybe they got the problem right for the wrong reason. And so whenever you look at a problem that's shifted from a little bit of a different perspective, then it doesn't make sense because the reasoning behind the problem in the first place was not correct. So really having these in-depth explanations, this very high-level understanding that a lot of times you need, especially once you're getting into OChem, you're getting into the upper level chemistries. It requires, a little bit more of expert understanding than what a student's going to be able to give you. So now that we've talked about what not to do, let's talk about what you can do. Let's jump into this Chem Excellence method. So in our experience, what you need for success, there's this learning trifecta that I love to talk about. Your teacher is going to give you a strategy, right? The content, the strategy for the class, the material that you are learning. That is one of the things in the trifecta, one part of it. But without having the right habits and without having the right environment, that strategy is not going to be enough to get you there. So if your goal is to graduate with a good GPA, maybe you're pre-nursing, you want to get into nursing school, you need to do extremely well in your chemistry class. Maybe you're pre-med, you want to go to med school, you need to do extremely well in your chemistry classes. Maybe you just want to get a really high-paying, prestigious job straight out of college. You need to do well in your chemistry classes. Maybe you want a competitive internship to really boost your resume. Maybe you are engineering. You want to work for a top engineering firm. Whatever your goals are, you want a prestigious future for yourself, then you can't really afford to just leave your chemistry classes to chance. So get your notes. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the Chem Excellence method. The first step is to prepare. Side note, I love the Olympics. I know the Olympics were last year, but that's okay. I'm going to talk about the Olympics for the next 4 years until there's another one because I love the Olympics. I have a ton of Olympic analogies. Let's talk about preparing in terms of the Olympics. Let's think about an Olympic swimmer jumping into a race without warming up their body, without warming up their mind, without having a plan of how they're going to go through the race. Maybe it's you're swimming the mile and you have no plan for whenever you're going to taper off, when you're going to sprint, when you're going to go faster or slower. It's why would you do that, right? But if you think about students jumping into going to class, jumping into studying, generally most students do it without thinking about how they're going to do it, without warming up their mind, without warming up their their game plan, without having a game plan. So whenever you're going to study, think about how you're going to study before you actually do the studying, the same way that the athlete has to warm up their body and their mind, the same way the athlete has to actually have a plan for that race that they're running. A successful student also has to kind of prepare their mindset, right? If you're going to study, you want to make sure you're focused. You don't want to be all distracted by everything. And you want to make sure that you actually are creating a plan of how to study. Think about how you're going to study before you actually begin studying. Pro tip, Reading through your notes is not it. Put your highlighter down. Do not just go highlight your notes. Do not recopy your notes. That is not how you want to study. That is not it. So think about how you're going to study. Think about how you're going to actually engage with the material before you do it. So if you want to be, I told you, Olympics, if you want to be the gold medalist of your chemistry class, prepare yourself. Don't jump in school. Don't jump in cold. Think about your goals. Goals are super important. I could talk about goals forever, so I will not get distracted, but think about your goals. Prepare your mindset. Make sure you're ready to actually focus, and then make a plan of how you're going to study. Okay, step 2. One of my favorite things that I like to talk about, I call it previewing. Whenever you go to class, most students are seeing that material in their class for the first time when they're in lecture. Chemistry is tough. So if you're seeing it for the first time when you go to lecture, it's like trying to follow this really complex maze, this really complex matrix that you've never seen before. You are basically setting yourself up to get lost before you even get started. Instead, what if you could have like your own Google, your own GPS, where you can see an overview of the maze, access it early, go into this matrix, this maze with an introductory understanding of where the twists and turns are. Then maybe you won't get lost, right? So you want to do the same with your class. See the material before you go into your lectures. Don't set yourself up to just be a seat warmer for 3 hours a week. Instead, set yourself up to be able to actually follow along with your professor and actually get some value out of the time that you're spending in class. Use that time as actual learning time for yourself. Maybe you can even engage with the professor. Maybe you can even answer some questions that they're asking throughout the class. You'll also pick up on the details a lot better. Okay, step 3, practice. You cannot learn a science. You especially cannot learn chemistry without practicing. But we want to make sure it's not just any kind of practice. We want it to be very efficient. So think about golf. We're back at the Olympics. I know, love the Olympics. They're fantastic. So imagine a golfer competing at the Olympics without ever having played on that course before. Well, most students, either they don't practice enough or they practice the wrong types of questions. So they get to the exam. In order to make an A, you have to do it perfectly, but they've never practiced it before. They've never done it before. Instead, just like the golfer is going to get to that course, that tournament early to be able to play that green, or whatever you call it, course, play that round. I don't golf, can you tell? A golfer is going to get there early to be able to play before the actual competition. You want to practice those exam questions before the actual exam. So that way, whenever you make mistakes, you're not making mistakes on the exam that are going to cost you points. You make your mistakes before the exam so that you have time to correct them. You have time to catch what you're missing. And then on top of that, the more you do that, the more mistakes you're going to fix. The fewer mistakes you're going to make, the better you're going to perform on the exam. So practice makes perfect, right? But you want it to be the right kind of practice. Success takes a lot of repetition, but you want to make sure it's the right types of problems. You're actually practicing exam style type of problems. So that's it. That's what you want to do. That's our Chem Excellence method for getting A's in your chemistry classes at U of A. Prepare yourself. Think about how you're going to study before you actually do study. Preview the material. Don't go into your lectures cold. Set yourself up to actually be able to follow and understand your lectures. And then practice putting things all together before you actually get to the exam. So here's what some of our students have had to say. Alexandra said last semester she was averaging C's and D's on her exams, and after working with us, she aced her first exam with a 97. Monique said coming here was the best possible thing that I could have done for my grade. Without her, I would be failing. She makes even the most complex concepts easy to understand. 11 out of 10. Recommend. Megan says she gets a full overview of concepts in ways that are easy to understand, and check it out. Practice problems that prepare you for the exams. Okay, congratulations on making it this far in our training. I want to remind you about that agreement that we made at the beginning. Now that you know what our 3 steps are, it's time to take some action. So you can take this information, go implement it on your own. For some students, that's all they need. They just need a little bit of guidance. They need an introduction of what to do, and they can go and they can implement it, and they will do very, very well. For other students, that's not enough. They need a little bit more support. So if you really want to become the master of your chemistry class, you want to take control of your future, you want to be extremely proud of your exam scores, then I have set aside some time in my calendar to meet with you. You can go to this link, you can schedule a session with me, and we'll talk about where you are going into your class, how you're feeling, what's going on with you, and then we can talk about the types of support we can offer. If you're interested, if you're not interested, that's okay too. It's still a free session. I'm still happy to chat with you and kind of make sure that you really have the proper mindset, the proper mentality going into your chemistry class, and you're set up from the beginning to be able to be successful in your class. So here's the link. Once you click on the link, there's a little video of me chatting to you at the top, and then there's a button. That button is going to take you straight to my calendar. And in that, you can book a time that works for you. You'll get an email with a Zoom link. Sometimes they go to spam. So if you don't see the confirmation email in your inbox, check your spam folder. But yeah, that's the training. Here's the link to my calendar. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys soon, and hopefully y'all have an amazing semester and do super, super well in your chemistry class.